Gutted, written by Reece Lecar. Reece sat at the kitchen table, his fingers wrapped tightly around the bottle of beer he was holding in his hands. Across the table, his brother Michael was sitting watching him with concern in his blue eyes. When he asked Michael for help to tell this part of his story, he said yes right away. How could he not? He knew every detail of this story, and he knew why it was so important for Reece to tell it. I couldn't ask Iona to do this, Michael. It would rip her heart out if she had to listen to me telling this part of my story. Looking down, he tried to collect his thoughts, images of what had been done to him flashing through his mind. Sounds and smells so real, he felt for a moment he was back in hell, chained to a wall he knew only too well. Lifting the bottle to his lips, he took a long drink and sat it on the table. Then looking at his hand, he saw a light trembling. So taking a breath, he looked up, nodded as Michael asked him if he was sure he wanted to do this. His hands fisted as he nodded, and he let his mind wander back in time. Every day, after I had my meal, waited for the demon to start his work on me, there were these other demons who came in, hoisting me up until only my toes touched the floor. They all had talons. They knew how to use them to cause pain, pierce the skin and twist it around. At first, I screamed in agony. Then my body just went numb, and what followed next was more of a mental torture. The demons grunting, talking about how they wanted to take my body and just have fun with it. He stopped and inhaled deeply, his nostrils flaring as the air was exhaled through his nose. Lifting his hand, he rubbed his face. Michael, who knew what was coming, reached out, placed his hand on his arm, giving it a gentle squeeze. The muscle in his jaw ticked as he gritted his teeth. He fucking hated this. Reece was an angel, and angels were proud, graceful creatures. Reece had been broken, shattered into pieces, then physically put back together, but his mind had not been given a second thought. Reece continued, I prayed, Michael. I was in hell, and I prayed to this God that has turned his back on me because I stood up for a friend and fell from grace. I prayed the day would never come they would do it. I prayed they wouldn't rape me. Michael shook his head as he looked into amber eyes glazed and darkened with pain. Silently cursing as he lifted the beer to his lips, he emptied the bottle. He knew damned well what had happened, but he also knew Reece would never say those words out loud. He got up and walked over to the kitchen cabinet, pulled out a couple of glasses. Opening another door, he pulled out a bottle of Jack. Bringing it back to the table, he sat down, opened the bottle, and poured them each a drink. Reece managed to smile as he looked at the drink and asked if he was trying to get him drunk. Michael said, maybe you need that. I sure as hell do. Michael watched Reece carefully as he downed his own drink, only to refill the glass. Reece tipped his head back and swallowed, putting the glass down and blinking as he felt the burning spread through his throat. Breathing out, he leaned back into the chair and continued his story. The demon torturing me usually entered the cell at that time, and it was with a fucked up feeling of relief I saw him coming through the door. His methods of torture were many, from using the whip to pulling my nails, piercing my skin with hooks, hoisting me up and leaving me hanging. I could feel my skin rip under the weight of my own body. There was always something new he had not done before, but it always ended exactly the same way, with me gutted. Shuddering as those memories came back, he lifted the glass and slammed the liquid into his throat to let it slide down without even swallowing. Looking into concerned blue eyes, he groaned, that pain, Michael. It was beyond imagination. The feeling of that knife as it cut through my flesh and was drawn upwards to my chest. Gods, I can't even describe, because I just lack the words. Your brain goes blank, and you know screaming will only make it worse because the muscles you try to use are cut, and screaming will make them spasm. Instead, you just hang your head, hoping, praying you'll pass out. Then you're dropped to the floor into your own blood and your own shit. Broken, humiliated. All you want to do is die, but you know that option will not be given to you. Michael frowned as he watched him. This angel, sitting across the table, had become like a brother to him, and feeling his agony almost broke his heart. Reaching out his hand again, he placed it on his arm, asking if he ever found out why it had been done to him every day. Much later, I was told by the devil why I'd been gutted every day. He enjoyed having my spleen for dinner. His favorite was having it barbecued. And when he didn't have it for dinner, they fed it to the rats. Reece studied the bottom of the empty glass, feeling the sting of tears in his eyes. Raising his hands, he wiped his eyes and reached for the bottle, filling his glass again. The buzzing in his head wrapped his mind in cotton. Oh, yes, he was well on his way to getting drunk. He closed his eyes and shook his head, biting into his lip, his voice hoarse as he whispered, 10 years, 10 fucking long years was what it took them to break me completely, to make me accept that I would become a part of hell. I had no idea what was planned for me. All I knew was I couldn't take any more of that torture. He took a deep breath and slumped back into the chair. His head fell back onto his shoulders. Glancing at Michael, a soft, drunken smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. Love you, bro. Thanks for doing this. Michael grinned and gave his arm a squeeze. Love you too, bro. Of course I'd do this for you. You're the one I have that I consider family. They both lifted their glasses, silently made a toast to their friendship. Michael chuckled and downed his drink. Dude, you are so on your way to getting wasted. Reece slammed the drink down like it was a shot, leaned his chin on his chest, glanced up at Michael, grinning widely, pressing his tongue against his teeth. Fucking right I am.